Here, amidst the religious iconography, you'll find a procession of monkeys and a fox preaching to a cock. These unexpected details weren't just for amusement. In medieval art, animals often carried symbolic meaning. Lions represented Christ, while monkeys were used to suggest the folly of man and the potential for sin. As we delve deeper into the symbolism of animals in medieval art, it's fascinating to see how the artists used them as metaphors to express complex ideas. Lions, for instance, were often portrayed as symbols of Christ, embodying nobility, courage, and resurrection. On the other hand, monkeys were used to suggest the folly of man and the potential for sin. Their mischievous antics were believed to mirror human behavior, acting as a reminder of our flaws and vulnerabilities. But the animal symbolism doesn't stop there. The fox, often seen in the company of the rooster, symbolized cunning and deceit, a stark contrast to the rooster's vigilance and light. Eagles represented spiritual strength and connection with the divine, while dogs were seen as loyal and faithful companions. Understanding these symbols gives us a deeper insight into the messages conveyed in these artworks. They also reflect how the medieval world saw itself, a blend of the sacred and the profane, the divine and the earthly. A stone gargoyle from the 15th century presents an unusual sight, a mooning man. This cheeky figure is thought to be the stonemason's protest against Peterborough Cathedral. But his bare bottom wasn't just a joke. Mooning grotesques and other impish figures were often placed on churches as symbols to deflect evil spirits. Scene script, voiceover. Gargoyles, those grotesque stone creatures perched high on the exteriors of medieval churches, were not just decorative elements. They had a significant role in the architecture and symbolism of these sacred structures. From a practical standpoint, gargoyles served as rainwater management devices. Their monstrous mouths funneled rainwater away from the church's walls, protecting the buildings from water damage. But these stone guardians had a deeper symbolic role. They were believed to ward off evil spirits. Their frightful faces and contorted bodies were designed to scare away any malevolent entities that might threaten the sanctity of the church. Gargoyles also played a part in the storytelling of the time. They were often carved to represent local legends or biblical stories, serving as a visual sermon for the largely illiterate population. So the next time you find yourself gazing up at a gargoyle, remember there's more to it than meets the eye. These stony sentinels are a testament to the craftsmanship, belief systems, and storytelling traditions of the Middle Ages. But for now, let's turn our attention to Chichester Cathedral, where the misericords offer a glimpse into the more human side of medieval life. The misericords depict a more human side of medieval life. One carved scene shows a musician stealing a kiss from a dancing woman, a snapshot of romance or perhaps mischief amidst the solemnity of the church. As we transition from the grandeur of Chichester Cathedral, it's essential to remember that these sacred spaces were not just about worship and reverence. They also reflected the everyday life of the medieval society, acting as a mirror to the people and their culture. The misericords and other carvings often depicted scenes from everyday life, adding a touch of humanity to these sacred spaces. The significance of these carvings cannot be overstated. They served as a bridge between the divine and the mundane, a testament to the lives of the people who frequented these churches. They were not just attendees, but active participants in a living, breathing community. Take, for instance, the carvings depicting a woman baking bread or a man tending to his livestock. There are scenes of jesters entertaining crowds and children playing games. These carvings, often hidden in plain sight, reveal a vibrant community full of life and character. This contrast between the sacred and the profane was not an accident. It was a conscious choice by the artisans and the church community to integrate parts of their daily life into these sacred spaces. This integration reminds us that the sacred and the profane are not separate entities, but intertwined aspects of the human experience. These carvings remind us that churches were not just places of worship, but also community centers where people gathered and socialized. They were spaces that celebrated both the divine and the human, the celestial and the terrestrial. And it is in this balance that we find the true essence of the medieval church. Words too were used to express humor and dissent. From graffiti scrawled in the margins of sacred texts to biting satirical poems, the written word was as much a tool for expression as the chisel and the paintbrush. Our journey through medieval expression brings us to the power of words. Words were powerful tools for expression in the Middle Ages, just as they are today. They could be wielded like a sword, cutting through ignorance, or used like a balm, soothing the troubled soul. Just as we saw in the graffiti and satirical poems, words were used to voice dissent, to challenge the status quo, and to express humor. They were the whispers of rebellion, the roars of discontent, the laughter in the face of adversity. Imagine, if you will, a monk, huddled over a manuscript by candlelight, his quill scratching across the parchment. He is not just copying text, he is adding his own commentary, his own observations, his own jokes. He is using words to express his individuality, to assert his humanity, in a world that often tried to suppress it. But words were not just the domain of the literate. Even those who could not read or write understood the power of words. They listened to the stories told by the bards, the proclamations read out in the town square, the sermons preached in the church. They understood that words could inspire, could incite, could comfort, could condemn. The power of words then and now cannot be underestimated. They shape our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions. They are the building blocks of our culture, our civilization, our humanity. And so as we continue our journey through the world of medieval expression, let us not forget the power of words. Scenes of men at stool were not uncommon, a reminder that even in the most sacred of places, the realities of human life were never far away. Scenes of animals, traditionally seen as enemies, sharing a drink together, were a common motif. Was this a subtle commentary on the futility of conflict, or just a chance to depict a fox and a goose sharing a pint? The medieval church was far from a humorless place. From cheeky gargoyles to kissing couples, these hidden messages give us a glimpse into a past that was as complex, as human, and yes, as naughty as our own times. Now, if you've enjoyed this exploration into the naughty side of history, do remember to subscribe, like, and hit that notification button. There's always more to discover, and we'd love to have you along for the ride.